Hello, truth seekers. Lawrence here, and welcome to Easy Enlightenment. So, do you know that you can become the master of your own mind? But becoming the master of the mind is not what you think it is. Right now, when you think of mastering the mind or becoming the master of the mind, you think of collecting more ideas in you, isn't it? Going through the experience, gathering more information, and with that, you think eventually you'll become the master of the mind. But that is completely false. Collecting information, collecting knowledge is not a path to become the master of the mind. You can already realize that this from your experience, that no matter how much you collect, the collection is never enough, isn't it? You always want more. You always want more. So, seeking more, adding more, is the never ending game. When the game is never ending, how can you become the master of the mind? The seeking for more itself is coming from the mind. You're listening to the mind and it's moving outwardly to collect more and adding more in your head. So, this is a sign that you have become the slave of the mind. And the seeking itself is coming from the place of fear. So, the fear is never ending. And if the fear is there, how can you see yourself as a master of the mind? Some of you see yourself as a master of the mind. But to break that bubble, that belief, is by recognizing the fear. When you have the fear in your life, that is not mastery, that is slavery. The self implemented slavery. So, collecting is not the way to become the mastery, the master. Yes, in the relative world, the world is about a pattern, recognizing the pattern, and you are, you know, doing back and forth with the pattern and making something for yourself in your life, which is the stability. But when it comes to spiritual freedom, freedom from the mind, collecting is a failure. So, if collecting is the failure, how do I master my mind? How do I overcome the fear in my life? Is by reverse engineering the mind, is by deconstructing the mind. Yes, reverse engineering is the path that will make you understand how the mind comes into existence and how the mind becomes real and how we identify ourselves with the mind and how we live in that mental universe. So, reverse engineering is the way to become the master of the mind. And spiritual journey is about reverse engineering. Right now, who we are is the mental identification, isn't it? When you ask yourself, who am I? What do you see? You see an idea. You have a belief for yourself. I am this or that, isn't it? And where is that belief coming from? It's from your experience. The experience also leaves the residue as an idea. And basically, who you are today is like a Lego pieces that you pick something here, something here, something here, and then you create something for yourself, and you see as that, which is the mental identification. I am a doctor. I am an engineer. I'm a teacher. I'm a yoga teacher. I am a spiritual teacher. Whatever career you have chosen, who you have become is a mental identification. But that's not who you are, though. That is just the extension. That is the art you have chosen, and then you are communicating with the world with that identification. And you see that it works in the world. Even that works in the world, that doesn't work to make you truly happy, isn't it? Your career is not happiness. Your career is not true freedom. Your career is not the sense of ease in you. The career, the mental layer actually fluctuates you. Yes, it is, it gives you that sense of purpose in your life, which is which which life on the outside is all about that. But when it comes to true freedom, we must recognize that who we have become is not who we are. What we think of who we are is not truly who we are. When we can see that I have become this and that, we can see that, isn't it? Just like a fear. When you have a fear, you see the fear in you. But when the fear is there, notice how we just dive into narrating further story from that fear, isn't it? Just another example is the negative thinking. When you start to think negative, you keep going down a spiral in the negative thinking. It never ends. But recognize this: when you have a fear, when you're thinking, when the negative stuff is happening in you, or when you identify yourself with I am this or that, your true nature is actually recognizing that. The observer side in you is watching that. So how can you say that I am the fear when you can watch the fear? How can you identify? How can you believe your fear? How can you believe your negative thinking? How can you believe your identification of this and that when you can watch them? When you can watch them, that's not who you are. You are the one who is watching this all things happening in your life. That's who you are. Recognizing, seeing that is true freedom. Freedom without adding any layers. And that is our birthright. That's what we are born with. That's the unchanging freedom. And seeing this truth, unchanging truth, also makes you become the master of the mind. You are the control. You are the controller of the mind if you know, need it. Only by awakening to the truth, you don't let the mind dominate you. You don't let the mind push and pull because you see who you are. So, to see the truth and seeing the truth makes you become the master of the mind. So, how to see the truth, how to become the master of the mind is reverse engineering. Reverse your mind. So here's a few examples. You can practice reversing. Reverse who you are today, what you have become today. So trace it back. Whoever you have become today, how did you come to this point? So you reverse it. Or reverse engineering the fear. You have the fear. So why do I have the fear? So why is the way to reverse the mind, reverse the fear, to go to see the root cause of the fear. And once you see the root has to be dismantled as well, all the way until nothing is left. How do we do that? Using the why. Or work on your attachment. Right now, there's so much attachment in your life. Attachment to so many things. Everybody is not. You're not alone in this mentality and this attitude. When the truth is missing, fear and attachment is present. When we don't know who we are, we identify ourselves with something, and that is anchoring for the ego self. So, reverse engineering. So try it. Yeah, try tracing the mind backward and see how far it can go. And basically, you have to create this habit of tracing the mind backward, tracing your fear backward. And this tracing the mind or fear backward is the way to understand the nature of the mind. Makes you see how the mind come into existence, and how the mind becomes real. Tracing is the way to see how the false is becoming real. Once you see that, and the final click is, who am I? You have to ask yourself, who am I? And if you're failing to see the plain sight truth with the who am I, and that is the sign that you haven't reverse engineered the mind enough yet. So what's left there is keep dismantling the mind, keep reversing the mind. And at some point you might feel that, oh, you're doing a circle in reversing the mind. Okay? So here, again, you trace your belief, you trace your fear backward to see the root cause of your fluctuation. Once you see the root cause of the fluctuation, that itself is an ingrained belief. And a spiritual journey is about letting go of the ingrained belief. Letting go is freedom. And that's where the letting go becomes tough for the ego self, because the ego self thrives with identification. And spiritual journey is about the death of the ego. And that root itself is the ego self. Ego self identifies itself with that root, and from the root it prolongs the game. So when you trace it back, you see the root. And when you see the root, you must recognize that the spiritual journey is about letting go. And that's where the fear comes in. And then you have to dismantle your fear all the way until nothing is left. So this thing you must recognize. Okay? tracing back from the surface level to see the root. And once you see the root, don't be positive. Spiritual journey, positivity is duality. So true freedom is non-dual. So how to go beyond duality is working on dismantling the mind further. So you gotta let go the belief, let go the root. So you have to. That's where the fear comes in, and you have to work on your fear. And working on the fear is the way to go. No mind. So you have to pretty much do this to all the friction that you have you go through in life. And if you do the work enough, reversing the mind enough, that prepares you. The major work of enlightenment journey, spiritual journey, is reverse engineering. And if you have done enough, you won't fail. But if you don't do it, that's the sign that's the sign to fail in the spiritual journey, in the enlightenment journey. That's the sign to recognize your own true nature. So recognizing the true nature makes you become the master of the mind. So if you want to become the master of the mind rather than the slave, the approach is reverse. Okay? I hope this video makes sense. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Take care for now. And by the way, subscribe. Thanks.